this week's episode of Sailor Moon Crystal, the Dark Kingdom arc finally comes to an end when the massive fart cloud Queen Metalia is finally defeated by an awesome beam of rainbow friendship. Yeah, taste the rainbow, motherfucker! I probably made this week's episode sound exciting. It's not. This wasn't a very good episode. I thought this was kind of a disappointing finale to the first arc of Sailor Moon Crystal. Honestly, it kind of makes me long for the original series that I watched back in the Toonami days. However, it still has a chance to redeem itself with its brand new arc, which technically begins at the very end of this week's episode, when we are rapidly introduced to the new character, Usagi Tsukino. Yeah, there's another one out there, and it's basically just a tinier, pink-haired version of Sailor Moon who suddenly just falls out of the sky, landing right into Tuxedo Mask's arms, knocking the other Usagi's ass on the ground, and having a very awkward kiss with Tuxedo Mask. It's an odd scene to say the least, and it's made even more tense by the fact that she pulls out a frickin' pistol and puts it right in Sailor Moon's face! That's how they end this week's episode, which honestly was way more exciting than the actual finale, which basically just amounted to Sailor Moon firing a big beam and having all of her friends cry tears of happiness, which power up the attack, and then she just blows her away. That's it. It was really way too easy. I was hoping there would be a little bit more to this conflict, but it does have something of a payoff. There's going to be some brand new power-ups in the series. She has this brand new legendary silver crystal transformation, which is just like the last one, except now the brooch looks a little different. This way they can sell some different shit. I know I'm being really negative about this episode, but still, it was so slow and just kind of disappointing and just didn't really do too much for me. And there were some really odd animation mistakes, like this one scene where she picks up the staff, which had the legendary silver crystal hanging out right at the top of it, and as soon as she brings it up, it disappears, and then the next frame, it reappears. It's really weird. This show, honestly, is not that crazy in terms of its animation and its artwork. A lot of the times, all the characters in the background are just static as shit. Sometimes they don't even have faces. And that scene where she uses moon escalation healing on the entire world, I call bullshit on that, because there are buildings that were destroyed, everything looked like a post-apocalyptic setting, and she can heal everything. There is no limit to this ability, and it even gives everybody a convenient, case of amnesia. I just did not like the finale of this episode, and I am sorry if I am disappointing hardcore fans of the series. I don't mean to offend you in any way. This episode just did not appeal to me. I just didn't really care for it. And even all the final stuff with this weird little small Sailor Moon girl coming out of nowhere with her weird little Haro Luna. That was strange. I think the most interesting thing about this week's episode was the stuff with the friggin' cats. Artemis and Luna. The scenes when they finally got to see the freaking Moon Kingdom coming back to life, and it was all really cool. And there was a scene for a split second where Luna looked like she was half human or something because she was perfectly synced with Sailor Moon. She was apparently known as Selene, the goddess of the moon. I don't know. It went by real quick, and it just makes me want to learn a little bit more about them. But I am interested in what's up with this weird little crazy pink-haired bitch with a gun. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode of Sailor Moon Crystal? Thank God this episode ended this arc, because last week's it was too slow. It feels like they could have inserted all of this into last week's episode somehow if they would have just cut up on the pacing a little bit. And I'm not really sure why they did that. I feel like it would have just been a lot better if they just started this whole arc right here instead of just giving us this little scene at the end, which was very strange and really the only thing memorable about this week's episode. Queen Metalia was not a very good villain because she didn't do anything. She just had a big evil face and was just that's all she did this whole episode, was make disgusting noises as a beam ripped through her weird gassy fart body. I was expecting so much more from Queen Metalia. I thought she was going to go through a transformation sequence and maybe become much more of an opponent, maybe have a little hand-to-hand combat, use their weapons a little bit more, maybe get the other Sailor Senshi involved. It felt like watching an episode of Care Bears where they finish off the main villain with one of their big beams that come out of their stomach. Yeah, I just compared this to Care Bears. It wouldn't be the first time I actually have, but still, I didn't care for this one. So, why am I even watching this show? Am I a sadomasochist? Am I just doing this for torture? I'm not really sure still why I'm watching Sailor Moon. I'm really just doing it for nostalgia's sake. like I said, I grew up watching this stuff on Toonami, and even then, I didn't really tune in that much. I was pretty much just watching while I was doing my homework and just looking up every once in a while. Okay, is Dragon Ball on yet? No, not yet, don't care. So I'm really trying to see what the whole big deal of this series is, and just, it's not doing anything for me. The production value is not that great, and this story just didn't, it just wasn't exciting. I can't put it any other way. It was just a lackluster finale. Simple as that. But a new arc is beginning, and it might actually be a little more interesting, and it might have a little more payoff. So I'm hoping to see what they're going to do with that. Otherwise, this week's episode, out of a 5, I'm going to give it a 2. I just didn't like it at all. It just wasn't the finale I was looking for, and maybe it was for you. This could be a 5 out of 5 episode for you, and if it is, I hope you enjoyed it. But for me, I just didn't really care for it at all. However, I'm still hopeful for the next season and hoping what they're going to do with the story. So I'm trying to keep an open mind about this as much as I can. However, this is still an episode that is worth seeing, if only for that final moment at the very end, which I really think is what saved this episode for me. Just the whole final confrontation with Queen Metalia was just nothing. It just poofed into thin air. Simple as that. So there it is, guys. Like I said, if you've been following the series, check it out, but maybe fast forward through some parts until you get to the very end of the episode. Otherwise, just steer clear of it. It's not that great. Thank you guys for watching my review. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And before you guys leave, please tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Sailor Moon Crystal. I ripped this week's episode a new one, but how did you guys feel about it? Did you actually really like it? Are you looking forward to the brand new arc, which is getting ready to begin? Please tell me in the comments section below. And before you guys leave, please subscribe to our channel if you have not already. You can do that by clicking on the channel icon right up here. This way you can check out all of our awesome anime and manga reviews. And we are taking a look at a lot of awesome anime from the winter 2015 lineup, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusaders, the Egypt arc, Tokyo Ghoul, Route A, Assassination Classroom, Death Parade. I'm loving all of those shows, and I can't wait to watch today's episode of Durarara and Rolling Girls, and then later One Piece. We're reviewing a ton of different shows, so make sure and stay tuned for all of those. Watch them, share them with your friends, and all that jazz. You get the sales pitch. And remember, guys, you can also follow us on Facebook and on Twitter.